Hello everyone, today the brand new patch notes 5.0 just dropped, and it's pretty small but pretty impactful. So I'm gonna go over it and do a bit more of the analysis work as we go over each individual change since there's not too many of them, and then give my overall thoughts. If you enjoy these patch breakdowns, it helps me a lot if you subscribe to be able to be notified of future videos. With that all being said, let's get started. Well everyone, 1 year into the game, and we got Brella buffs. Undercover Brella and normal Brella will both be able to get their shield back after it being broken by a faster amount of time. Undercover Brella's is being increased by half a second from 4.5 to 4 seconds, and normal Brella from a full second from 6.5 to 5.5 seconds. It's also worth noting Brella has a relevant bug fix where if you strafe forward diagonally, the shield would be lower than intended, meaning some people could more easily shoot your head. I'm not going to talk about Undercover Brella much. It has so many problems that while this is nice, it's not going to be relevant anytime soon. On the other hand, Splat Brella is also getting the Sorella Brella kit with Autobomb and Inkjet, one of the best kits in the entire game, and the second best kit they could have given it next to Burst Bomb Jetpack. The buff and bug fix to the shield should make shielding much more reliable, and mainly it seems like the devs want Brellas to be able to be tanking a little bit longer. This change is made so you can get back into the battle and start taking attention faster than when it's originally broken, but this doesn't improve its combat capabilities while you're actually fighting. We'll have to see if this stalling nature along with a good kit is enough for the Brella to see use. It's going to depend on a lot of factors like how it benefits from cooler gear sets it can run, and how impactful it's going to be to have a shorter range inkjet option. Regardless, it's good to finally see some buffs to this weapon, and I'm pretty interested to test it out. Now, the Reflux 450 is getting two changes. The spread is going to be narrowed without charging by about 30%, and it's going to be narrowed once you have a first level charge by about 29%. On the one hand, this means that you'll probably be able to partial charge one-shot people much more easily with the weapon, meaning you'll be able to do it way faster. Reflux's biggest issue right now is the amount of precision you need to be able to get kills on people with how little range you have is just a bit too much to ask right now at a competitive level, and stuff like Tacticooler being good have only made that harder. This change, while not giving it more range, makes it more likely it'll have two chances to hit its one shot, or at least a follow-up on weakened opponents if it hits the first charge. This could potentially make its combat capabilities way better. We'll have to see. However, there's another twist to this. Because we're making the spread smaller even with tap shots, its tap shot paint, one of the best strengths of the weapon, is also nerfed? They technically didn't mention the paint output, so maybe it's just the bullets themselves and the paint is the same, we have no idea. If it is also a paint nerf though, even if this does make it more consistent, this might not be worth the buff and end up being in an even or even worse spot. I have my doubts that it'll actually affect the paint, and if not, then maybe this could have a chance to be better than Tri-Stringer or have some niches. But even then, right now Tri-Stringer isn't a high bar, and I'm still unsure if this will have enough consistency, just because you're so close in range to short-range shooters, which have a much more reliable and fast kill time. That and Tacticooler makes hitting those shots even harder, and its sub isn't great right now. We'll have to see what Reflux players can do, and it should be a positive change overall, but we'll have to see if it's enough to see some competitive use. On to the specials. Killer Will 5.1 is getting some quality of life changes. If you don't lock onto a target, it will now lock on the target that was last in the area of effect. This is really confusing wording, but say you have someone in your crosshair and then you move off them and you're not targeting anyone else. Those beams will now target that player, making it a bit easier to hit the right target even if you move your crosshair off them at the last second. There will also be a new display indicator and sound effect to help make it clear to tell when you're firing at that locked on target. This is mostly a quality of life buff, but being able to more easily mark people without having to pay attention to firing your lasers will still make it a bit better to use. Zipcaster, on the other hand, is getting a pretty significant buff. First, it's possible to attach to the ground closer than before. What does this mean? Well, basically, when you're really close to the floor, you can't zip there because it's too close. That range will now be lessened. You'll be able to zip closer than you were before, which is nice to do that burst damage you get when exploding. Speaking of that damage, not only is the radius going to be 50% bigger, being comparable to Inkjet, but it's also going to deal more damage. How much more damage? We have no idea. Right now it's a range between 25 and 35, and I really doubt it's going to be doing more than 50. I think around 30 to 40 / 35 to 45 is all within reason. This is going to make its combos with other weapons and reliable damage in general way better as a whole. In addition, when you pass through an enemy with Zipcaster, you deal 60 damage. The maximum damage being 35 left your opponent with 95 damage. More than likely, if you explode close enough to them, that will now be a one-shot combo, which is really cool. I think for Stamper and Light Tetra in particular, we have to see how much this affects them, as it could be really useful. That being said, it's still going to be really hard to chase cooler targets who are very fast, and Zipcaster's armor is still not that consistent. It'll definitely make it a lot better, but we'll have to see if this ends up in the meta or not. I think it might be around a mid-tier special now. Maybe high tier if some weapons could be really good with it. Finally is a nerf to the meta special we all know and love, Tacticooler. When you place a cooler, the amount of time that has to pass before you can farm another one has been increased from 7.5 to 10 seconds. Basically around the same as Missiles and Super Chump now. Cooler spam was the main problem with this meta, because some weapons could just get it way too often and way too quickly. The cooler respawns are fun, but you don't want people to always have them. There is such a thing as too much, and I think this adjustment is good. I will also say that there is tech on some maps to be able to break the cooler on stuff like rotating spinners on Museum or the tower on Tower Control. Breaking the cooler stand early allows you to farm another one as soon as it's broken. This tech could be really useful in team play if you're close enough to grab the cooler quickly, and is going to be much more relevant to learn now. Tacticooler will still be fine. I don't really see it going anywhere in the meta, and I think this is a solid change. We have two gear ability adjustments. Tenacity is being buffed in terms of the speed the special gauge can fill. We don't know by how much, so I can't say how significant this is. I don't really like Tenacity because it's a bit passive, but it could be relevant on the new Heavy Edit Smiling and Pencil since those weapons try to stay alive a lot, so I guess we'll see. Another ability, on the other hand, finally got its nerf. Last Ditch Effort is going from 8 subs to 6 subs at its maximum effect. So yay, finally a lot less bomb spam. This will also mean that weapons with Fizzy Bomb will now need to run 1 sub of Inksaver sub to get double Fizzy when LD is at its maximum effect. So congrats on your new utility sub, Tri-Slosher and Machine players. I hope you enjoy it. This nerf isn't as much as people might make it out. It's still 6 subs of 3 Inksaver abilities. It's totally going to be worth using a lot. It's just that comeback will be a bit more competitive with it, and a bit less bomb spam and special output because of it is a good thing. This will probably hurt the Zap and Splattershot the most since they are short-range shooters who can frequently use their bomb with that ability active. But even then, I think it'll be really minor. Finally, on the points for special nerfs, the Zap 85 and Anarchy Nova will both be 10 more points to their special. Nova kind of tanked off a cliffside this patch, but the weapon doesn't have the healthiest playstyle, so whatever, I guess. The Zap, on the other hand, is going to be pretty relevant. 10 points, plus Last Ditch Effort being slightly weaker, plus Tacticooler taking 2.5 seconds longer until you can farm another? Yeah, its output's going to be lower. Having weapons with a bit more fighting utility, like Tri-Slosher, especially given its powerful Fizzy Bomb, the Snipe Rider, and potentially Heavy Edit Smiling if it's good, might be more worth running now. Zap will still be a solid support option, and I doubt it's going to go anywhere, but I'm not sure if it's going to be the staple cooler option anymore. Still, I think there's going to be plenty of comps that'll want one, and it's always going to be a solid weapon. The only extra other thing worth noting is that we do have the Grizzco dualies coming. This is suspected, but now confirmed. And when you queue into X-Power, Challenge Anarchy, etc., and the queue fails to fill, you'll automatically re-queue now. So that's nice. So yeah, a fairly short patch. I do wish there were more buffs, but we haven't really figured out this meta as much. Even at top-level competitive, there's still stuff we're kind of figuring out since the last patch. So it makes sense that the notes are a bit smaller. I just wish we got a little bit more buffs to some of the clearly weaker options. Regardless, having nerfs to Last Ditch and cooler spam specifically are just amazing, and I think as a whole this is a very solid update, and I'm looking forward to it along with all the new content when it drops soon. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.